Hello everyone, Rook here. In this video, I'll be skimming over the lore and inspirations of our new level 81 dungeon coming in Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion, Endwalker. Thank you to Square Enix for the opportunity to play this in the 2021 Media Tour. If you don't want any spoilers as to the dungeon, title, or bosses, now would be the time to look up one of my other Media Tour videos to watch instead. Otherwise, let's work our way through the Tower of Zot. The Tower of Zot is a location drawn from Final Fantasy IV. Although the tower plays an important role in the story, its nature or purpose isn't explained. Even its name is left a mystery, never making it clear as to who or what Zot refers to. While its origins are uncertain, in 4 this mysterious tower is home to the Archfiend and Empress of the Four Winds, Babarishia, along with her 3 minions, the Magus Sisters. The Magus Sisters were a trio of characters first introduced in 4, and they recur throughout the Final Fantasy series. Sandy is the tallest and middle sister, Cindy is the portly and oldest sister, and Mindy is the smallest and youngest sister. They are associated with the Delta attack ability. In Final Fantasy XIV, their names have been changed to Minduruva, Sanduruva, and Sanduruva. The addition of Uruva could simply be to fit with the overall Indian cultural inspiration for Thavnair Zone. More on this in my Thavnair lore tour video. But it could also be a reference to the South Indian language called Kannada, where the word Uruva means a being that is spiritually or religiously pure. Throughout the Dungeon of Zot, and in at least one of the fates that pops up in Thavnair, the sisters are referred to by a collective title, the Manuysa. Manuysa is implied to be a spiritually significant or religious force to the Thavnairian people in this region, which I can only assume manifests as this trio of beings. In our world, Manuysa means human being or an animal with a mind. Human beings are believed to suffer the threefold miseries in their lifetime, which present various hindrances for them to overcome. There are 3 types of hindrances, or vigna. First, adhyatmika, or ailment of the body, which deals with malady, sickness, or that which affects your inner self and wellness. This would be represented by the sister Sanduruva, who's a white mage and deals with bodily healing and ailments. Next, adibautika, harm that comes from outside the body, which is suffering or pain inflicted upon you by other living entities. This would be represented by Sanduruva, who inflicts physical harm with her spear upon others. And last, Adi-daivika, or divine calamities, natural disasters beyond our control such as thunderbolts, floods, terrible fires, and earthquakes. This would be represented by Minduruva, who unleashes calamitous elemental forces of fire, lightning, and ice upon her foes. The 3 sisters all wear masks, which Kryl notes when realizing they must be the Manuysa come to life. Dance, theater, and sacred rituals in India have long made use of masks. In fact, many ancient civilizations treated masks as instruments of revelations, a pathway to the world of gods and other invisible powers, and a way to give form to the formless. Masks put a tangible face to a concept, power, emotion, or entity, and link the wearer to forces greater than themselves. It might be that the Manuysa were summoned forth in such an image because they're commonly portrayed with masks that look like these in Thavnairian ceremonies. But that's just a guess. So now that we've talked about the 3 bosses, the Magus Sisters, let's talk about where the Tower of Zot came from and which group is powering it. We've already seen secondhand the horrors waiting inside these towers. When Fordola and Arnvald ventured into the structure that would give rise to Lunar Ifrit, they discovered a slew of Amal-Jah being tortured within, harkening back to ancient Alag's imprisonment of dragons in Dalamud to sustain the primal Bahamut. The Tower of Zot must have been created by the Telophoroi, thanks to Fandaniel and Xenos' efforts, as tempered Imperials and Garlean war machines defend its halls. This could also explain why there are so few people remaining in Garlemald, which we talked about in more detail in the Garlemald Zone Tour video. Judging by the imprisoned Matanga within the tower, we can assume that much like Lunar Ifrit was summoned by the Amal-Jah, the Manuysa were summoned by the Arcasodarans, native inhabitants of Thavnair and the creators of alchemy. We even see the influence of the Arcasodarans' alchemical pursuits in the transmutation ability the youngest sister, Minduruva, uses. To transmute a substance is an alchemical endeavor, in which base elements are subjected to a process that fundamentally changes their form, nature, or substance. The Nidhana Kryl mentions in her dialogue as you run through the tower may be one of these imprisoned Arcasodarans, and a character we come to meet in Endwalker. Another cultural nod found in the dungeon is how Minduruva mentions dancing in her combat lines, which not only reflects the religious roots of many dance forms around the world and in India, but also ties into the traditional techniques of dancers found in Thavnair itself. Interestingly enough, Sanduruva's major attacks are likewise references to yogic siddhis. In Hinduism, siddhis, or accomplishments, are material, paranormal, supernatural, or otherwise magical powers and abilities that are attained through practicing yoga. Sanduruva's 3 attacks are Isitva Siddhi, the ability to control nature and individuals; Prapti Siddhi, the ability to instantaneously travel anywhere at will; and Prakamya Siddhi, the ability to achieve or realize whatever one desires. It might be that yoga is also practiced in Thavnair, and worked its way into her summoning through the Arcasodaran people's spiritual beliefs or subconscious minds. Finally, let's take a look at the artistic inspiration that seems to have gone into the tower's design. Much like the Void Ark raids, the towers across Eorzea seem heavily inspired by the work of science fiction horror artist H.R. Giger. I've said this Geiger for years, everybody, so you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm gonna try not to do it this time. Hans-Rudi Giger was a Swiss artist best known for his airbrushed images that blended human physiques with machines, an art style that came to be known as biomechanical art. Biomechanics as a scientific field depicts organic physique and bodily anatomy as a mechanical system. Biomechanical art visually represents this concept by actually replacing and integrating mechanical elements into organic forms, wires in the place of blood vessels, pistons and gears in place of bones and joints, and so on. This art style strives to demystify the complex magic of life itself, by showing how our internal systems are no different than parts in a machine. It both dehumanizes and calls into stark light the humanity of its subjects. It embodies the anxiety that our hopes, dreams, passions, and fears may only be pre-programmed instincts driving the machine of humanity as a whole, while also allowing us to catch a glimpse of the spark of life unique to our expressive souls. Giger's pursuit of art was in part driven by the dreams and nightmares he had as a child, finding that his terrors resonated with the wider world. He addressed his personal fears, but also collective fears, said Andreas Hirsch, one of Giger's friends. What's compelling, he added, is how Giger's art allows us to come to terms with that darkness. The Tower of Zot literally feeds on the nightmares and fears of the Arcasodaran captured within it, turning organic life into a machine made to manifest their desire for salvation. Thank you so much again to Square Enix for allowing me to run through this new dungeon. The narrative, artistic, and mechanical details in dungeons are some of my favorite things in the game, so I honestly had a blast getting to play this one. Plus, our first group run was absolute hilarious chaos, which was great. I'm only sad we didn't get it on Discord, cause... If you're interested in more lore like this, give my old Charlie and Garlemald and Thavnair tour videos a watch. You can also see a preview of our new relic sets and 10 of our upcoming jobs on my 2021 Media Tour playlist. Play the new dungeon for yourself when Final Fantasy XIV's new expansion, Endwalker, releases, coming November 23rd, 2021, with early access starting November 19th.